Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, it is I, the diligent, vigilant, meticulous, sagacious, conscientious, analytical, methodical individual, the chiseled Adonis, and he is a serial entrepreneur, the Filipino Prince, Tycoon, Rene Lacade. We are Assiduous, episode 30 now? That's 30 of them things down.
Three-piece, baby.
30 of them things down, man. We are going 100 miles per hour. It's beautiful to have made it to this point. And as of late, we had a little bit of a run-in in the sports realm where we played each other in basketball and a variety of different games. I believe it was King of the Court. There was also a 21, and then I believe a 2-on-2, couple of 2-on-2 games between myself, your brother, and one of your childhood friends.
Correct.
And how do you feel about that? How do you feel about how the result went?
I was pissed. You whooped my ass, so I commend you for that. You whooped my ass. Thank you, sir.
Yes, yeah.
But I think it was a big learning lesson because I remember I walked in today and I told you to your face, I was like, yo, I respect you because you're an excellent human being. And I think what happened, the reason you beat me, I literally, because I'm the type of person when I lose, I get like, I can't sleep at night. It's a weird thing for me. I can't sleep at night when I lose. So we played basketball. You won. Everyone's like, that was so much fun. Because I did have a lot of fun. It was a great time. But I remember I went to bed that night, and I just couldn't sleep because I was thinking about it. And I thought about it. I was like, why did I lose? Because I look at when I lose. When I lose, I think about it a lot. I'm like, why did this happen? How do I prevent it from happening again? Because I hate losing. It's a weird thing. I don't know. I was born with it. But it's like, it's one of my mental issues. Right? Probably a good thing, though.
Would you categorize that as a mental issue,
Not being able to accept losing? Yeah. 100%.
Well, you know, because I think losing is a portion of life, but I think you shouldn't just be comfortable with the fact that you lost.
So here's a great example. Let's say you're LeBron James.
Okay.
And I lose to you. If that triggers me and makes me angry, it's not healthy because I will never beat you ever.
Right.
I mean, maybe what makes it worse too is the fact that I could have beat you, but I just didn't because of my lack of preparation. So I remember I went to bed, my head hit the bed that night, couldn't sleep. I was just thinking about like that loss, like the entire time. Why did I lose? You're just in much better shape than me, so you put in a lot more effort. You're more athletic, so that helped you as well, right? And yeah, you just came prepared. And for me, I was fatigued. I was just shooting. I wasn't really attacking the rim. I wasn't playing hard defense because I was a little lazy because I was tired. So I was like, man, fuck this. I remember next day, hired a boxing coach so I could just get my cardio up. I've started running because I'm like, nah, there's no way that this guy is going to beat me at that ever again. And it's a weird like obsession thing. And I thought about it. I was like, this guy is actually like the more I get to know you, the more I see you, I'm like, this guy's just an excellent human being because you don't ever have an inner battle with yourself. I feel like 90% of people, they have an inner battle with themselves where they think, how am I going to do this today? Oh, I don't want to go to the gym today. Oh, I don't want to work today. I don't want to do this today. I don't want to do that today. You don't have that inner battle with yourself. You're like, fuck it. This is what I got to do. I'm going to do it. And there's never like let me get off the couch. Let me do it. Let me force myself to do it. You just do it.
Right. Because for me,
there's no whining, no complaining.
Right. Because I look at it as not necessarily a form of obligation, but more along the lines of duty. If I say to myself, I'm going to do something, then I have to do it. Even if I don't feel like doing it, I didn't want to do it, although maybe even there's times at which I don't even feel like committing to going and doing something. But if I have to be a man of my word. So if I'm like, all right, yeah, let's go and do this, fuck it, let's do it. And I'll get off my ass, I'll make it happen. Even if sometimes it could take a longer period of time, because there are moments in which I'll sit there like, all right, I want to get this done today. And then it drags for 2 days.
So maybe I haven't seen that side of you.
Right.
That's how I am.
Yeah.
I'm someone that like, okay, I need to get this done. And then I just drag it for like 2 days. And then it gets done eventually because I force myself out of it. But I'll be laying on the fucking couch and I'll be like, fuck it, let's go. And I'll do it eventually. So I guess you have that too then. But for me, from the outside looking at you, it doesn't seem like you have those moments because you're just like, I got to do it. Let me go do it.
Yeah, because I have a great poker face. I have a very, very good poker face at it. But then it really depends on like what it is. Like if it's something that has to be done, then I'll do it. Or if it's something that's crazy, but I'm amongst people, I'm like, okay, my ego kind of activates like, all right, let me just see if I can, how well can I do this thing? Like if out of nowhere, I'm like, all right, hey, let's do 100 push-ups in a row out of nowhere. nowhere. I'm going to force myself to pull it off. I could possibly fail, but I'm going to give 100% of effort towards trying to accomplish the goal rather than say, well, maybe it might not work out in my favor. Similar to when I sparred for the very first time. I hadn't ever put on boxing gloves or anything of that nature. I saw people sparring. All right, that looks cool. All right, cool. Let's go do it. And not even a second thought. I could have had like what happened with Sneeko and Sean Strickland, where he just beat the life out of that dude. But I can commend Sneeko for having the balls to say, fuck it. Why not? This guy's a former champion. He had recently lost the title.
Yeah.
Why not go and, if you're going to step into the octagon, step in there with one of the best.
Right.
So it makes sense. So I've always had that kind of in my mind ever since, I guess, my adolescence, because one of my things that I hated was just hesitating and not actually
I feel the same way.
On things.
I think for me, it kind of went away when I started making money and then you start getting rid of your ego. Because think about it, right? When you're young, hungry, you have a lot to prove, you're going to do it all.
Right.
That's a good motivator. But now it's like, for me, the way I look at it, I have nothing to prove to nobody. I don't give a fuck what you think about me. I don't have to prove that I could do this. I don't have to prove that I could do that. I'm rich. I'm comfortable. I don't have any obligation to no one, right? The only obligation is to myself, and I feel like I let myself down sometimes in instances like that. And that's why I'm angry about it, because I literally, and I thought about it for weeks. Yesterday I ran a mile. I was thinking about that.
Oh, right. Well, so you had your David Goggins moment.
It's like, it's one of those things where it's like, I can't hate you because all you did was be prepared.
Right.
If you had won because you were doing some dirty shit, it's different because I'd be angry at you. But like, you literally just won because you're in better shape. You're naturally more talented than me. And then that coupled with the fact that I haven't prepared, lack of preparation on my part, lack of cardio, it just got my ass kicked. So it was a really bad feeling.
Yeah, and I could pour a little bit of vinegar on the wound as well, because I was wearing, white ups at that, so not even basketball sneakers. I think I was in long pants and stuff, and it was the first time that I played basketball all year.
Yeah.
Yeah. In fact, that too had a few drinks, but we both had drinks.
We
both had a bit of drinks. Yeah, we both had a bit of drinks that led to us going out there. But yeah, I look forward to the next time that we go and play, because I'm not a basketball player. I'm a football guy.
You're athletic.
Yeah, but I'm very athletic.
You saw the Celebrity All-Star game?
Yes.
You have fucking, what's his name, Puka?
Yeah.
The dude on the Rams? Dude just running, jumping from the fucking free throw line, dunking that thing. Maybe not the free throw line, but he was just running, jumping, dunking. So that's not really an excuse to be like, oh, well, I'm a football player. You're an athlete at the end of the day, because we played, and it's not like you were uncoordinated. You had a real soft touch of the rim. Right. You're a good basketball player compared to the average person.
Yeah.
It's just, I still shouldn't have lost, and I take accountability for it. I should have been better.
Because you pride yourself on your basketball skills.
Yeah, it's like one of those things where it's like something I actually played.
Right.
So like, it just wasn't good for me, and it took a toll on me. I'm not gonna lie, because I started running, hired a coach, and hopefully the next time we play, if we ever play, hopefully we never play ever again, because it'll live with me forever. Because if I beat you, then I don't know, I feel like it goes away.
But if you lose again, then what happens?
Then I just keep going.
Then you just keep going. Well, it gives you something to chase. It gives you something to chase.
But the second I beat you, then I'm scared it's gonna go down again. So hopefully we just go a year without playing ever again. So next time we play, I'm like, I'm gonna cook this motherfucker, and I'm like, prepared this time.
Fair enough. Yeah, hey, that's not a half bad idea. You will get cooked, but I mean, it's gonna be spectacular.
And the worst part is I can't even say nothing, because he's probably right. At this moment, I'm still probably not in shape enough to like maintain the cardio, so he'll probably still cook me. I'm not even gonna lie, he'll probably still cook me. So it's just so annoying. Like the fact that I have to live with it pisses me off.
Yeah, and then you have to see me.
Because you have to be like, well, you still got cooked. I'm like, let me shut up. Because one thing I hate is when people talk shit, but they can't back it up. Yeah. I'm not going to be Dylan Brooks. I'm not going to be the guy like, I'm talking all this. He's old, he's that, he's this. Nah, he cooked me.
And then when you lose, you go silent and don't want to say anything. Yeah, I'm the worst kind of shit talker, because I don't talk shit. I kill you with positivity. Yeah. So I'll be the guy who, if I'm scoring a ton of baskets on you, I'll be like, hey man, great defense. I'm like Tim Duncan. Next time.
This guy's a liar. I played basketball with him.
Make it happen.
He was like Malcolm X, baby, Martin Luther King, baby. Let's go.
It's because it was Black History Month.
Yeah,
it was just random.
It was fucking.
It was just friend, and on top of that, there was a guy who was playing on pickleball that was over there. I was trying to get his attention.
He wasn't like, hey, good work, guys, good game. He's more like, yo, baby, Black History Month.
When it was me and Eric against you and your brother, I was telling your brother good job on different times when I laid it up on him inside and everything. It was just, the only reason why I kept going so heavily on the Black History because the guy who was playing pickleball next to us, I was trying to get a reaction out of him just to see what he said. Because he looked over one time like this.
Like,
did he just say Marcus Garvey? What does that have to do with basketball? But yeah, it's one of those things where I think it brings a dog out in you. And then we were talking off camera as well about, like, do you think people are born with the dog already being there, or is it something that's built over time? Like, you got, because of course in the past we've talked about how trauma plays a role in cultivating the dog mentality, but I don't know if we went in depth about, like, if you're born with it.
Well, so I think for me, this is how I think you are born with it to an extent. Like, I'm trying to think of like ways that it was maybe nurtured in me. Maybe my mom spoiled me like at a really young age, so that I thought I was like the center of the planet,
right?
The center of the universe. But I remember as a kid, I would lose and I would cry.
Yeah.
And I would be so angry that I lost. And at first it manifested itself in the form of like poor sportsmanship. And I think a lot of people still do that. They're like poor sports. They lose, and instead of like internalizing it, being like, why did I lose? Why did I do this? They just blame everything else.
Right.
Because I could have if I was a poor sport, I could have easily lost and be like, oh, he got lucky, he did this, he's lucky I didn't try. I could have very easily done that. You see people do that all the time.
Yeah.
And that's how I was when I was little. When I was like 5 years old, 6 years old, when I would lose, I would just start crying. Anything, board games, basketball, tag. We'd be playing tag if someone tagged me and I couldn't catch it. Let's say I get tagged and I can't catch anyone else.
Yeah.
I just start crying because I'm losing.
Right.
So, and I would blame, I'd be like, oh, they're cheating. They're not cheating. I just sucked.
Right.
And I think one big thing that, like, the reason I became successful is eventually I was just like, you know what? It's my fucking fault. It's my fault that I lose in any given situation, right? There are instances where you can deflect blame. Let's say you cheat. If you cheat, it's like, oh, he didn't play by the rules. I can allow myself to live with that.
Right.
But I think when I lose now, I get that same feeling is still there. It just manifests itself in a different way. In the past, it manifested itself as tears, me getting angry at people, me lashing out. Now it manifests in like that anger towards myself. So like I said, now I'm gonna go for runs. I've been boxing like twice a week, 3 times a week. I have like a professional coach. I can't let that happen again. Because
it all comes down to accountability, and then ultimately knowing that you gave 100%. Because
no, even if I gave 100% and I lost, I'd be pissed.
No, correct, yeah. Because the thing, at least you can say, hey, I went all out and I lost, so I know I have to do better and get better. Yeah. Versus if you half-ass it, you lose. In your mind, it's like a double fuck you. Because not only did you lose, you also didn't put your best effort out. So now it's like a what if kind of situation. If I'm going to lose, I'd rather give 100%, lose and be like, all right, that guy's 100% better than me. Yeah. I've got to get better so I could be better than that person. And no matter what field it just so happens to be. And I think
the way you have to look at it's because you don't stress about things that are out of your control.
Right.
If you have a possibility of winning and you don't win, it's your own fault and you should be angry at it. Great example. If you were LeBron James and you beat me, I'd be like, cool, I was never going to win in the first place. So I don't have to be hard on myself. But the fact that there's a possibility of me winning and I didn't win, it's an excuse to be angry.
So now that makes me pivot here. You have a daughter on the way.
Yeah.
You think your daughter, given how you're going to raise her, right? Primarily spoiler. You think she'll have the dog in her, or do you think is it something that's necessary? How do you? I
don't necessarily know if women need that dog in them. Because like the world is a competitive place, but mostly just in the realm of like finances, sports, et cetera, et cetera. I wanted to want to win. Obviously, I don't want her to just like settle for whatever. But I think you build that differently in daughters than in sons.
Well, also it depends on environment. I think because I think if you're a woman who's born into the struggle and you're in a situation where it's survival, you almost have to have the dog in you. Because if you're a damsel in distress all the way throughout, your life, but you're completely at the bottom and you're just getting by or struggling to get by, you almost can't afford to not, have that dog in you to get yourself out. But I think there has to be a level of understanding of when to bring it out, when not to, depending on the situation.
I think what's scary is that having that dog in you, it adds like a certain hardness to your life.
It does.
And I want my daughter to be soft. I want her to be a soft woman. I want her to be pure. I want her to be innocent. I want her to feel protected. I don't want her to have any sort of like hardness towards reality. Because for me, like I'm a very hardened person.
Right.
Like really sad shit could happen. I'll be really unfazed by it. Right. We were walking one day in a bad area. We saw a dead person. Me and my wife. My wife had a meltdown.
Wow.
She had a meltdown. And I'm like, kind of like, yo, people die. It sucks. Whatever. And then she was getting mad at me for not caring about the dead person. She was like, yo, why are you being an asshole? You're downplaying it.
Wait. There was like a police?
Yeah, the cops were trying to resuscitate someone that had overdosed or something.
Yeah. Wow.
And everyone was there, and she's like, let's leave. Let's get out of here. And I was like, kind of looking. I was like, yo, it's crazy.
Yeah.
But I was like, yo, it's not a big deal. It's okay, people die. And she's like, you're downplaying. It's not much to die. And she's freaking out, and I love that about her because it's like I feel like women should have a sense of that. You don't want a girl that's like, yo, it's crazy, someone died.
Yeah.
The fuck, like that's scary.
Right. It's like you're colder than I am. It's
But
like,
as a guy, like you need that hardest. Because imagine if you're with your son or like one of your boys, someone dies. It's like, bro, let's get out of here. Someone died. You're like, man, the fuck up,
Right.
So with your daughter, you almost want her to be a little bit soft, and you don't want her to have that killer mentality.
Right.
Because then you almost lose compassion for other people like that.
But then it's a slippery slope, because this is one of the reasons why I'm so fascinated by parenthood. Because how the hell because there's no way you can guarantee a particular outcome based on how you raise the child. And with you being an impending father, obviously you can kind of try to see if you can cross all different scenarios and see how things will work out, because you've stated before you'd want to spoil, your daughter to where she has everything taken care of. But how do you put yourself in a position to where she's not overly materialistic?
So I think
and remains grounded.
This is a great example. My wife, I think she set the blueprint for that, because my wife is very not materialistic. And it's weird because she grew up rich. She's very well traveled. Like, she would fly first class as a kid. But I've met her dad, and her dad doesn't like material things. He loves experiences and traveling. So with my daughter, she's gonna be very spoiled experience-wise, living situation-wise, but material things, she's not gonna get any of that shit.
Right.
I'm gonna have very firm, no, you're not getting that.
Right.
Because then she's gonna be sad, but at the same time, she's gonna have more than enough. Like, she wants food. Like, when it comes to food, when it comes to traveling, when it comes to like any sort of necessity, she's gonna have an abundance of it. Oh, you want a nice steak? Here, let me get you the biggest steak on the menu. Don't even have to finish it. Save it for later. You're gonna have so much of that. Oh, you wanna go here? Let's go here. I want you to see it. Let me show you the entire world. But when it comes to like the things that because here's the thing, I love that stuff. I will splurge. I've dropped freaking $20,000 on like bottle service.
Yeah.
Because it's an experience. But I'm the guy that's like scared to like drop 20 grand on a shirt or clothes or like anything like that. I'm not that guy. I don't really like that stuff. So I want kind of, my wife is the same way. We don't really like material things. We live in this crazy huge penthouse, but this is more of an experience.
Right.
We love traveling. We love going places. But we're not like, yo, you want to go to Design District and buy Gucci clothes. Like, we don't really care for that. So
Right.
I think the daughter will see that too, and she'll be like, oh, this is cool. And I think when you spoil someone with experiences, they appreciate that a lot more than material things.
Right, 100%. Because I think now, especially with what social media is now, when really social media still is in its infancy, because Facebook started 2004, and although they had different social circles or whatever, I think Facebook really took off about like 2008. MySpace was the crave in 2006 or whatever. So we're really still sub 20 years from when social media really took over the world. So I'm very curious what this upcoming generation and the next generation will look like growing up with this being essentially what your entire life is centered around. Because there's kids who are in their late teens and early 20s who kind of, when they were toddlers entering into, I guess, that elementary school stage where they were just Facebook and socials and all this other stuff was everything. But now kids growing up at like 2 years old are exposed to TikTok because, parents are handing them tablets and phones and all this other stuff.
That's a big part.
So
I'm
it's
not
very
giving my daughter
interesting.
any screen time.
I wouldn't either. either. If I had a child, I probably wouldn't have them having a phone until maybe junior high or something, because what do you need it for? Unless, of course, I have to call you for something. But then even then, I think about how myself and other people, there was a bunch of different go-throughs, liaisons per se. Like I could call this person, they would have direct access to my child versus me handing a phone. So it'd really only be like flip phones or like the
One of my
Nokia
friends,
brick.
he does something cute. Like Eric, he has a daughter. It's really cute. They like how they spend their time. They don't really get screen time, but like how they do it is they'll literally go, because he has a garden. He grows tomatoes and shit. Yeah. So they'll go to the garden. He'll have her like help with the garden. She'll get to try some of the tomatoes. It's super cute. So she just loves being outdoors. Like I love that stuff. I want to go on hikes with my daughter. I want to like be outside. I want to enjoy nature. Because I think when you do that, they put value on that stuff more than the
100%
immediate dopamine stuff.
100%. And I saw a video.
I don't understand when people just give their kid, here's a phone, and the kid's just getting dopamine hits left and right.
Terrible parenting.
You're tearing their brain up like that, bro.
Yeah, and it's a cop out at that, because it's like, all right, I'll let the phone raise, because there's a lot of families. I'll never forget. I went out to dinner, funny enough, with TJ when we went out to go get some steaks, and looking around, there was a family of, I think it was about 8. They're eating, but in the midst of eating, there's no conversation amongst the family.
Sad,
everybody's on a phone, and they had a child as young as what appeared to be maybe about 5 years old. Yeah. Everybody's on a phone or a tablet, and you're out at dinner. Now, granted, you don't need to everybody be involved in the same conversation, but you can speak amongst yourselves.
Right.
That just didn't seem like it was a reality. So it's very interesting now with like impending parents or young parents or whatever the case is. Like, how are you raising your children? Because I saw a video that went viral where there was a father, and he was training with his daughter and his son, and they were walking up an inclined hill with, or are there hills that are flat? I'm not too sure. I think they're all inclined, but with because I said inclined hill. Like, why did I say inclined hill?
They're walking up a hill.
Yeah, I caught myself. But he was walking with his son and his daughter up this hill, and they're carrying kettlebells, and a woman drove by, got out the car, ran over the kids and said, hey, are you okay? Just completely bypassed the father, thinking that he could have been like an athletic coach, just abusing the children. She ended up leaving, coming back and giving the children water, still bypassing, because she's not accustomed to seeing children outdoors actually doing things physically. At that doesn't have a form of mobile device attributed to it. So with that being the case, I think there should be more experiences that are away from the second screen. And
even that, so I think yes and no. I agree with you 100%. I think one thing that my mom did really well, maybe by accident, but contributed to my success, she gave me the screen. She let me have the screen. Even as a kid, we had a desktop computer, but what she would do is she would put little like math games or English games in there. And they do the same thing. They kind of like hit you with the dopamine when you do something correctly. Like, I'm okay with that. I'll let my daughter sit at the screen, because I remember I would just sit at that computer for like 6 or 7 hours, bro. Because my mom didn't really want to watch me, because she's a single mom, she's tired.
Right.
So she would sit me down, play this game, and I would just sit there solving math problems for like 6 hours. But it was fun. I'm like, oh, because like you get like, if you 2 + 2 = 4, and I'm like 3-year-old, 4-year-old, and you do it, it goes ding, like good job, you level up in the game. So you're just like, and I have a personality where I just get addicted. Maybe it's because of that, but I get addicted to like that type of stuff.
Right.
So I would
just the rush of hey, did I get it right? Did I get it right? Did I get it right?
I would sit there for like 6-7 hours just solving math problems. So I remember when I got put in school, I already knew all the stuff they were teaching, so I had to do other shit like on the side of that. I don't see an issue with that when it comes to screen time. I want my kid to be like fucking addicted to learning, because if you can get them addicted to learning, now it's like what's the have them fucking learn like 8 languages, right? Put them on Duolingo. Have them learn like fucking 30 languages. So by the time like they're adults, they know 30 languages. They know they have a physics degree. They graduate from Harvard at like 12 years old. Right. If that becomes their addiction, I don't mind that.
It's like board games, because I bought a big ass Connect 4, right? It's because Connect 4 will always be Connect 4. Right. Even it could be a mat or a board that's as big as this. It's still Connect 4, but it's brain power in a competition. So I think about like with board games, you can get a ton of different board games for children that forces them to have to use their head. Like even and with our producer, we're talking off camera about with Yu-Gi-Oh! When you think about how much different things Yu-Gi-Oh! Touched on when we were children, even with Pokemon, same thing. You had to read the card to know what the effects were. You had to know the math to understand the difference of when somebody attacked. If you had a defense monster, what's the difference if this would take the thing out? Sacrifice. If you wanted to get a higher level card, you had to understand you had to give up something to get something else. It's like very strategic in the maturation of the child mind. And when I was a kid, I kind of, that's why I got so into it. I'm like, oh, this makes sense. I get it. There's a story that's attached to it.
Blue eyes, white privilege.
Oh, well.
Blue eyes, white privilege.
Blue eyes, white privilege out there in San Francisco. Chris McCaffrey.
Why is blue eyes, white dragon stronger than the dark magician? You don't find that suspicious?
He's a dragon.
You don't find that suspicious?
But then again, at the same time, Dark Magician is stronger than Red Eyes Black Dragon. You don't find that suspicious?
That's pretty suspicious.
Somebody called Dr. Umar when you need it.
The Blue Eyes White Dragon. I don't know, man.
Because white people are better.
Oh my God.
He's exposed the truth.
Dark Magician.
He said it. Cancel him.
Yeah,
but it's just one of those things where it's like, all right, with things like that, I think they need to make a resurgence per se in families and households.
Because before, I don't have an issue with the dopamine hits or programming your kids with the screen with the dopamine hits if they have to earn those dopamine hits.
Yes.
So if you're playing like a game on a phone that involves thinking, logic, like puzzles and stuff, and then it gives you a dopamine hit after you do that, it's great because now the kid's getting programmed. Okay, I have to work. If I want to get this reward, I have to work a little bit to get it.
Right.
Right? And the second that you're like, hey, you can get it for free, you just press this button, you get it for free, that's the issue because now the kid thinks that they don't have to work. It's programming them to assume that this dopamine hit I'm getting, I don't have to work for this.
Right.
And when you do that, now it's like, okay, anything that involves effort, why would I do something that involves effort to get a dopamine hit when I could just fucking go on TikTok, scroll, get it instantly?
Yeah. And I think if I decide or if I'm granted the opportunity, because it's not up to me, to become a parent, right? And I think about how I would parent my children, offsprings. I would pretty much offspring, a product of my semen. But I would essentially put them in a situation where, of course, I wouldn't just have one, but there would be a high level of accountability from the jump. If I mess up, there's got to be like, all right, cool, we're going to apologize. If, my wife were to mess up, if the child were to mess up, there needs to be an understanding collectively. Hey, you messed up. You take a moment to be accountable for your mess up. And there's no judgment, no guilt behind it. You should be accustomed to saying, hey, I was wrong. Yeah. Cool. And then furthermore, when a mistake happens, there has to be an understanding of there's a consequence for the mistake. And it's not just individualistic. Because in life, there's many different moments in which you can make a mistake. You don't recognize the ramifications it has on everybody around you. So let's just say, got a daughter, Samantha messes around and not, get her grades done in school the right way.
Cut one of her toes
or whatever,
off.
Right? I don't know so much about cut the toes off. That's kind of far.
Shoot her in the foot.
But let's just say, all right, cool. You said you wanted to get an A.
Yeah.
You ended up getting a C. And it wasn't as if, oh, well, you weren't prepared for the exams or whatever. You weren't studying. You didn't do your homework. You didn't show up to class when you were supposed to be over there. You kept completely messed up. Cool. The whole family's now going to suffer. Let's go run a mile. Oh, well, I don't feel, well, let's go run a mile. Oh, well, the wife, your mother's pregnant. Guess what? She's running because of you. Your father got a messed up foot. He's running because of you. Your brother got a messed up back. He's on crutches. Well, he's out there hopping because of you. There has to be an understanding of, there's repercussions for your actions, and it doesn't only affect you.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know about that, man. The reason I don't know about that, because people are going to assume, let's say someone does that, right? They're going to assume that, like, they can just keep doing it because they're like, whatever, I'll run. They don't want to run. And you almost build hatred for like that person. Let's say you have siblings.
Right.
You build hatred for the siblings because it's like, you keep fucking us up. What's wrong with you? Like, we're not going to talk to you anymore. You're the fuck up of the family. That's what I feel like it becomes.
But then the opposite side of something like that would be, because although we're going to celebrate, we would all, like when somebody wins, we would all celebrate together collectively. But in a scenario like that, I think it would be a point where the other siblings would hold them accountable. Like, hey, listen, you're also, because if you enjoy doing the punishment, that's one thing. But if you get a kick out of making other people have to suffer through something because you're messing up, there's going to come a time in which that tension has to come to a head. And it's, unless you're somebody who's like a sociopath or something of that nature where you really just get a kick out of that, more often than not, you'll probably self-correct because it's not coming from a place of malice. It's like, this is what the standard is.
So here's a I guess I hate to use your family as an example, but let's say we use your family.
Right.
How would you feel if every time your brother didn't like exercise for a day or didn't like wasted a day or sat on the couch for a day, you had to take heat for that?
Oh, I'd be frustrated. I'd be completely frustrated. But although I would begin to, build that resentment for him, there's no way I don't have a conversation with him. Like, hey, listen, you are fucking up.
Okay,
not only me, but yourself and those around you.
But let's say you've had a conversation. Like you hired him to work for you, to exercise, to do all that stuff.
Right.
You tried your best already.
Right.
But let's say he just doesn't.
But it wasn't the standard from when we were kids. Because it's almost like I'm trying to put the discipline in at this stage now, into adulthood.
But I feel like that's almost like so let's take capitalism and socialism, right?
Right.
It's almost like a socialist household. Because now the kids say, oh, I did a great job, but they fucked up and now I'm paying for their mistakes. In the same way, oh, I did a great job in society. I pay a bunch of taxes, but now I have to fucking pay for everyone else's mistakes because he wanted to fuck up and not get a good living, not build a business, not build something.
Right.
He's broke now. I have to pay for his mistakes.
Right.
Even though I did great. So I'm almost like the opposite. I want to do like a capitalistic household where, hey, if you fuck up, you deal with your consequences on your own. Let's say someone does a great job. Oh, cool, reward. We're all getting ice cream.
Right.
But let's say someone fucks up. Like, hey, listen, you messed up. Like, everyone else is going to get the reward because they did what they had to do. You're not going to get it.
Yes, but I get exactly where you're coming from, because there definitely is a element of the socialism that did. But then the thing is, with the celebration of like the wins, you have to understand that although this person did what it took for us to all celebrate collectively, you didn't necessarily contribute to that. Like, there has to be a constant reinforcing in the mind of, hey, we're celebrating him or we're celebrating her in this moment, and then when we all fuck up, we're fucked up because you had messed up here. Because I think there could be a level of isolation if it's like, all right, you fucked up, you got to deal with the consequences. We're all going to go out and go get ice cream. We're eating the ice cream in front of you, which I completely get, because I had that level of coldness. I don't even want to say coldness. It's truly discipline.
Yeah.
I had that when I was coming up as well. But then I look at it from the element of, you don't want that one to now stray away from the herd and then be influenced from the outside, and all of a sudden you take on a ideology or something that you never actually really experienced.
So I think there's a way. I think you have to be very careful with how you do it, because I agree it could be dangerous.
Right.
But I think, like, let's say you have two sons. One does a great job, one does a bad job. You can go to the one that does a bad job. Hey, I love you. You're my son. I know you're better than this. You're just not gonna get the reward today just because you didn't do your thing. But next time you do it, like, use this as an experience. I feel like if you come at it from a very understanding perspective, and you say, hey, the reason that this happened is because you didn't do it. Next time, I'm gonna make sure you do it. I'm gonna try to help you through it so you're able to do it next time. And next time comes around, I'm like, hey, do you remember what happened last time? How bad you felt? How they were celebrating and you didn't get a chance of that? Like, let's try and pick it up. I feel like if you could be encouraging, then they're gonna be like, okay, let me try my best. And if they don't, they don't. But at the same time, I'd rather do that because it shows them that, like, it's the real world. It's the real world in the sense of, like, in the real world, someone else fucks up, it doesn't affect you.
To a certain degree, depends. Because let's just say if you're working as a team per se, somebody messes up, you now have to pick up their slack. It can be on a micro level, but then it can become macro over time if that person just continues to go and fuck up. But I'm there with you with the encouragement, because I think that's one of the things where I would love to incorporate like family meetings, things of that nature.
I agree
all
with that.
Come together. And again, it has to be in a space to where you can be open open, honest about things, and you're not coming from a very judgmental, because I think there has to be an element of judgment. I think it's foolish to ever think that you can't judge somebody, but it depends on how you do it.
I don't think you should be allowed
And
to
the
judge your
intent.
kids because they're a byproduct of you.
No, yes, but then it all depends on what's the intent behind the judgment. Because you can judge somebody positively versus, because we usually look at judging as just a negative connotation. But ultimately, if we all come together, you're like, all right, you're struggling in school. Why are you struggling in school? What is the focus that's here? You're struggling in extracurricular activities. You're struggling in sports. You're struggling with, whether it be exercise, whether it be focus, whether it be, whatever your interest may be, even in video games. If you can't seem to figure something out, what is it that's not clicking, and how can we collectively as a group aid you in doing better? Because of course, as let's just say your kids is struggling to put together like a crossword puzzle or something of that nature, you look at it like it's not that big of a deal. But if you already from age 4 until age 15 created an environment to where they look at the family as the nest that they can always come to find, get their problem solved, they'll never have to look externally outside of the core unit in order to go and get that. So in my mind, for everything that I've said regarding like whether it been as a group being punished or as a group being celebrated or coming together in a family, it's just to really bring back that old school family core unit. Like we all we need, we all we got, we all we need.
Well, it's weird. So when it comes to that, I think an element of struggle is the reason that happens. Yeah. Because if you see wealthier families, they don't tend to be as tight knit as like a great example. Me, my mom, my brother, we're super tight. We're super close because we were broke. Right. So we're like living on top of each other. My mom's house is not that big. Probably it's the size of, it's smaller than the first floor of the penthouse. Yeah. So we're just living on top of each other 24/7. And because you're so close, you like almost build a bond without even trying. It's like growing up with someone. Like you're going to build a bond just because you're there with them. Yeah. Whereas like wealthier families, you don't really build as much of a bond because like I'm in my room, this person's in the room, they're all away from each other. They can avoid each other, so they're not forced to like coexist. Right. So I think a common struggle, let's say you have no adversity. There's no struggle. There's no common enemy. What do you guys band together for? Yeah. But when you're broke, it's like, yo, this is all we got. We don't got nothing nice. People are going on vacations. People are doing this. People are doing that. What we have me, you, and my mom. Let's like hang out. Let's go to dinner. Let's play board games. Let's find a way to entertain ourselves with the little we have. Yeah. So I think almost that struggle is what builds a family unit also. It does. And it plays a large role because I'm glad that you mentioned like, what is the enemy? What are we attacking? Yeah. And if you're in a situation where you have that level of comfort per se, you don't have that reality. But then it's almost like whatever sort of issue that arises, I would love for the family to be like, hey, we can attack this together. And it's just one of those things that I've always looked at from when I was a child, and that was one of the things that I kind of yearned for per se, because anytime a problem would come along, it's like, hey, you got to figure it out on your own. So then now I'm almost hyper independent, that you end up with somebody who's like, oh, we're supposed to be a team. It's very difficult to now deal with. Like, fuck it, I'll do it myself. I'll just do it myself, because what I can now bring you in or whatever, but then if I have a certain way and process that I go about things, you have a certain way that you go about things. Well, one of us has to lose, because compromise ultimately is one person not getting their way. Yeah. So it's a weird dichotomy that you find yourself in. And I think a lot of people, they struggle with that. And it's something that you have to work through. There's some individuals who don't have the patience to work through it. And there's others who are very patient to where they sit around and wait, and it never happens. But it's one of those things that I think if you come up from a very young age and you have that already instilled, you understand how to operate within a team. I think that's a skill that great percentage of people really struggle with. Yeah. Well, so here's the thing. I don't think I'm a good team operator. I don't think I'm good in a team setting necessarily. I'm a good leader in the sense that I could motivate a team. I get a team pumped up. I can do this, I can do that. But I think so I take it back. I do operate in a team as long as I'm in charge of the team. Okay. I don't operate well on another person's team. Because if I can have the say-so, I can kind of like put the pieces together. But the second that I'm trying to do it for someone else or someone else's vision, I think I have a really hard time doing that.
Right. Me too.
It fucks me up. So-
me too. Especially if it's a situation where it conflicts completely with what my thought process is. So
Yeah.
if it's almost like I'm going against my beliefs and how I process things, and then once it becomes the antithesis, I'm sitting there looking at it like, yeah, I'm not. I got issues with this. There's gonna be headbutting that begins right there.
So yeah, it's interesting because you look at like I like to use this example: Jake and Logan Paul. They're brothers. They're both killing it. Mm-hmm. They're not really like a team though.
Right.
They're in their own lanes. Jake is building his boxing company, his betting company. Logan's building his like podcast and Prime, his energy drink. So it's like they have their two different lanes and they butt heads almost whenever because you've seen some of their spats on the internet. They fight each other.
Right.
Because they have their own way of doing stuff that doesn't necessarily like work with each other versus someone like Andrew Tate and his brother. They're always like this.
Right.
They always kind of work because the younger brother's almost taking a step back and he just follows Andrew's lead. And they have like a good synergy because of that. Whereas like with Jake and Logan Paul, they're both leaders in their own right. They can't operate in a team. They kind of like work as independent units. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know if there's any way to kind of predict that. It's almost like a personality thing.
Yeah, there's no way to predict it. It's like, and I think with parents and conversations that I've had with parents, because I love to just try to study people. You'll sit there and you're like, all right, well, there's no way to guarantee or predict how things would come out, but everybody has in their mind how they would like to see, their child come out.
Yeah.
Because although it's like, well, I love my kid through and through, you still kind of want them to be on a certain particular kind of path. I think whenever somebody says, oh, well, whatever it is that they do, I'm going to make sure I go out there and support it 100%. I don't think that's necessarily true. I think you have to convince yourself into doing that. Because if your kid now says, hey, I want to lick toes for a living or whatever the case, you're like, oh, well, I'll love you through that, son. You're not comfortable with it, but you have to try to find a way to make peace with it. And sometimes you look back like, where did I go wrong to where this happened? But it's just one of those things where with children and parents, it fascinates me because I've always looked at how are you raising your children? Have you thought about what you're doing today impacts, what they're going to do 10 years down the line? Have you worked through different particular kind of habits, that could possibly rush or should say rub off on the child or whatever the case is? So things of that nature.
But so here's the second part, right? Is it nature or is it nurture? Are some people genetically just more inclined to be successful because they have traits like I'm slightly neurotic in this? I didn't even realize that. I've almost learning about myself in the process, but I'm slightly neurotic in the fact that like I literally cannot get fucking that loss off my mind. It's not healthy. This is like super unhealthy. People would look at me like, bro, get over it. Fucking, you lost a basketball game. You were drunk. It's a basketball game. But I can't because like there's a slight like, there's something broken in my brain in that sense. And thankfully, it's something like that I can use to channel in the correct things. But do you think like some people are just broken in the right ways?
Yes.
You look at like Kobe Bryant, he's a sicko. He's a sicko like that. He's obsessive and he's a perfectionist and like he has that Mamba mentality. Same with Michael Jordan. The dude's like downfall. He's a gambling addict because he can't that feeling of winning to him is just everything. So how do you feel like there's almost like a predetermined like who becomes successful or not? Because that is like a real thing. Like some people just are broken in the right ways. Yeah.
I think that there's some who are born with it. There's others who it's built into them based off of experience. But I believe we talked about it before where like everybody who's successful has like a certain type of edge to them. But as it pertains to just being broken in the mind to where it's like, hey, this is on my mind and I can't feel comfortable until I win. I think it was like the Les Brown speech, his keynote speech, where he's like, it's not over until I win. And there are those who strive for greatness, and there's other people who are comfortable, being mediocre. And it all depends on who you aspire to be, and are you willing to hold yourself to that standard? Because I think a great coach will see what your potential and your trajectory can be if you applied yourself, and they hold you to that standard. And it's up to the, student to then say, hey, I want to be here because you say I can get to this point and I've seen flashes of me having the potential to get there. I'm going to do what it takes to get there, and then others shy away from it. So I guess you have to be in a situation where there are people who are born with it, but then can it be channeled? If they never put themselves in positions to channel it, you'll never know.
So I think for me,
it has to be brought out.
When it comes to kids specifically, or even people in general, I think you have to look at what kind of person they are and what they will be happy with. Because you could see someone, if right away, if I see my kids like crying whenever they lose, I'm like, oh, you got it. Whatever like I have, you got that from me. I know where you got that from.
Right.
But if I have a kid that's just super chill and it's like, it's okay if I lost, I know for a fact it's going to be hard. I'm not going to program them to think like, yo, you got to become a millionaire. You got to do this, you got to do that. No, I'm going to program them to like, hey, get a job, like get a nice healthy balance in your life. You'll be very happy. Right. You know, but I think once you see like that, whatever that is, that's when you have to like plant that seed. So I think that the goal should never be greatness or being rich or being the best at anything. It should just be like happiness in the way that makes you happy.
Right. Right. And then also striving to be your best version of yourself, because that seems to be very trendy nowadays where everybody says be the best version of yourself. But you have to identify what that is. You know, how are you striving to get better? What is it that you're doing to, you know, go out there and, you know, become that best version of yourself or whatever the case may be. So it's always trial and error, I think.
Some people are just, so I don't like that, like being the best version of yourself. Because like, what if the best version of yourself is just a fucking loser?
Right. Right.
You know? Like I always look at it, you have to compare yourself to others to some degree.
I agree.
Meaning like you have to look at how everyone else is doing and in order to like have an honest assessment of yourself. Because I could look at myself, one thing I don't like is when people look at themselves in the mirror and they're like, I'm great, I'm valuable, I'm this, I'm that. It's like, I'm happy you think that, but also at the same time, you don't dictate how much something is worth. You know, like the society, the world dictates what something is worth. So you can't say that little teddy bear on the floor, my dog toy is worth $100,000 if no one's willing to pay that. Because then it's just untrue. Right. You know, you can't say that like...
The market determines the value.
The market determines the value. So same thing as a human being, like being the best version of yourself feels like a cop-out.
Yeah, because it's all lip service if you're not actually doing the work. Yeah. And I think that's ultimately what it comes down to. If you're somebody who goes out there and you're able to identify what that best version is, or you know what your faults are, because if you say you're trying to become the best version of yourself, you have to know what has to be worked on. A lot of people just use it and just say, hey, you know, I'm just trying to be the best version. Well, what does that look like? Yeah. Do you know what you want your life to look like? That's why exposure is very important. So you get around different sort of people, you see the kind of life that you kind of want to live or the kind of person that you kind of want to be, and then that way you have something to strive for. I think everybody needs something to strive for, because you can have a blank canvas per se, but you kind of want to have something to where you have a little bit of a direction. You could hop into the car and want to go into the open road, but you kind of want to have either a GPS to know what direction you're going into or a destination that you might want to get to. So I think that kind of stuff is very important.
Isn't it crazy how people used to drive with no GPS?
Oh yeah, my father.
No, sorry, my brain just like...
My father. He used to drive the Ambulance. I don't know, it's not quite the ambulance, but they transport people. It's like Accessoride before Accessoride, and they called it Ambulance. But he would drive around New York City, no map, nothing.
Freestyling.
He knows it like the back of his head.
Raw dog in New York City.
Raw dog in New York City behind the wheel.
That's crazy to me that people just used to fucking... So what's even crazier, the people that sailed to the United States of America, Christopher Columbus is like, yo, I'm gonna get there. Like if I told you, yo, Dave, you gotta swim to Hawaii right now. You gotta take a boat to Hawaii. Go for it. Figure it out. These motherfuckers sailed the Atlantic Ocean with no map. No GPS, no satellites. They just kind of freestyled it. Like, all right, let's get in this boat and we'll just go that way.
Yeah. Even as fabricated as history may be, you still got to look at stuff like that with, like, my God, the amount of valor that you got to have, the balls to just hop into a boat or maybe hop into a car or get on top of a horse, and wherever you end up, hey, that's where we're at.
I equate it to, like, because people be hating on Christopher Columbus. I mean, he did something kind of bold. It would be the equivalent of like, yo, we're going to Mars. We don't know how to get there. No one's ever went there before. We don't know if we're going to make it, but we're going to try our best. Yeah. Let's go. And you get like, it's the same thing as the first people that go to Mars to colonize Mars, because that's what Christopher Columbus did. He colonized America. Literally, the first people that go to colonize Mars, it's almost the same thing.
Yeah, essentially. I mean, the only thing is, I mean, with Columbus, he showed up and there was already people here. Versus with Mars, if there's Martians,
but from a societal standpoint, because before, like, society was like, they didn't realize there was people there. Society to them was just their immediate society.
Right.
The world wasn't.
It was like Attack on Titan.
The world wasn't big enough to realize that, like, okay, there's people here already.
Right.
Because we don't know what there's people on Mars. We just don't know.
Yeah, 100%.
And then we go over there and we're like, oh shit, a bunch of people here. We got aliens. We gotta go kill these aliens. right? These native Martians.
Yeah, you know how humans go. Oh, geez, there's somebody's there. Well, let's kill them and showcase our
I think we're woke
dominance.
now, so like we'll go there and be like, we come in peace. But the second they attack us, they're like, we gotta fight back.
Right,
And-
but then at the same time, how do we identify the attack? Oh,
and
we are so great. They come over and this guy looks a little aggressive. Let me pull out my gun.
And then,
You know?
literally, so then Americans do that, and then sure enough, freaking, I don't know, 400 years from now, you're gonna have like native Martians who have casinos and shit, and they're gonna be like, yo, you took our land, like this was our land, and then like we should change Earth Day to like fucking colonizer day, because that's what they did. They don't like.
Martian Awareness
They
Day.
They don't have Columbus Day no more. They have.
Gotta say that is a sensational joke. That
What?
is a sensational joke. That's top tier delivery
Of what?
right there of the contrast of the Martians to the natives.
Bro, it's so true.
Top tier joke.
We're gonna go to space, and then they're gonna be like, "Yo, fuck Earth Day. It's Martian Awareness Day."
Soon enough,
like that's
we're all gonna have a patch.
So
they're
that's
gonna
what
be
I'm saying.
endangered
Like,
community.
It's so bold. Like what they did there was bold to go to America with no fucking map or nothing. Isn't it the same shit? Like going to Mars, no map, just freestyling it to Mars. It's crazy.
Yeah, that's why I'm not becoming no astronaut. Not gonna end up like the Challenger in '86. Not me. It's not going down
Challenger,
like that.
that's when that blew up, right?
Yeah, it blew up. It was bad. Live
you think black people are
telebroadcast.
better in water or in space?
It was better in water than in space.
Black people are better in water or in space?
I'd say water, because we've been able to adapt towards the water. I don't know so much about space. I don't know too many black astronauts. Then again, I don't know too many
Are there
astronauts.
any black astronauts?
No, there's definitely black astronauts. I just don't know any astronauts really.
Black astronaut. I don't know. I
Yeah,
feel
I'm sure there's a good number of them now, but
How do you
have
become
no
an
clue.
astronaut? What's the process of becoming an astronaut?
It's something of you study astrophysics possibly in college, and then it becomes like a pipeline towards becoming an astronaut. 'Cause
That's crazy.
I don't think there's any sort of astronauts who hadn't.
Ain't it
gone
fucked up
to
how like they tell kids
college
like
for it?
I don't know why. When I was a kid, I always assumed like, oh, that was a realistic job possibility for me. Like as a kid, you're like, what do you want to be? They're like doctor, astronaut. I want to be fucking veterinarian. And then it's like, what did you end up becoming? Barista.
Right, because there's a
Cashier.
lot of work that goes into a
The
ton of stuff
fuck?
like that. Because astronaut, well, unless of course you have enough, clout or money, then you could be like a Michael Strahan and just go to space,
But why the fuck
with
did I
no
think it was
background
gonna
or
be
whatever
so
the case
easy to
may
be an
be.
astronaut? I'm like, yo, let me
Interest
be
in just the unknown.
Let me go to astronaut school.
Right, it's like the archaeologists. You're just literally just studying, fossils or all this other stuff. So it's just a history buff per se. Astronaut is kind of just, I guess, identify things that's just never been identified, or maybe dive deeper into stuff. I don't know. It's big, but me and science never really meshed like that. So it was never really my
You're just
my subject.
anti-science?
No, I'm not anti-science. It was
Flat
just it was
earther?
of all of my subjects. I think it was math was 1, social studies was 2, English was 3, and then science was about like 4th. It was always at like the bottom because it
Weird.
never really interested me to that high level. I never cared that much about it.
Interesting.
But yeah,
I was just bad at everything.
yeah, we covered a lot today. We covered a lot today, and I would hope that you guys took away some gems here.
This is the family episode.
Yeah, the family episode.
The family
of
Martian episode.
30. Of
30
the
piece,
Assiduous podcast. And once again, I am the diligent, vigilant, meticulous, sagacious, conscientious, analytical, methodical individual, the chiseled Adonis. He is a serial entrepreneur, the Filipino Prince
Tycoon. Tycoon.
Rene Lacard. And this is We Are Assiduous.
Ba, 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 ba. See those lungs? That cardio's getting better.